Okay, Comic Accelerator Workshop Recap number 30. I've done this 30 times since 2025. This week was back on Sundays from 3 to 5. Worked out very well. Got to use the inside. 20 workshoppers. So again, we're way up into double digits every week, it seems. So it's been fun. In the career section, we launched by talking about making money, which is what I've now started to do. Every time people walk through the door and start the workshop, I ask, who made money this week through entertainment? Hopefully with stand-up, but just in entertainment would be great, organizing around that as a professional beacon. And this week, Rock Turner, our tech guy and stand-up, made $1,200 because I referred him to somebody that I knew who needed tech for an event for South by Southwest, which is the way the Comic Accelerator is supposed to work. If you move this out to where now you know 100 people, 150 people in Austin who do stand-up and whatever type of other entertainment factors and things that they get into, then if they know you, if you network with each other and you get to know each other inside the workshop and you make it part of the ethos of the workshop that we help each other out getting gigs, it becomes very easy to do that, especially because Rock he's probably been to the most workshops out of the 30. I bet you he's been to 20, maybe more. And he's very consistent, very nice guy, listens, learns, and brings it. He's really good at giving feedback during the writing sessions. And so he also techs the saloon show. He brings a spotlight, he brought tripods, he brought lots of stuff without asking, and he takes photographs. So he's a photographer, professional photographer, also does video. So it's very easy for me to hook him up. Literally, these people called me and said they need some help. I'm like, I got a guy, hooked him up. They talked a bit, and next thing you know, he got prepaid for the gig. So that's the way it's supposed to work. And it can be anything. It can be stand-up gigs. It can be tech. It can be doing film shoots. It can be literally anything in entertainment once you get in and you start letting people know you're looking for work and you're reliable and you're fun to hang around with. Next, we talked about pushing to find marquis bits. Most people are trying to just get into competency stand-up, where they've got a little narrow band of what they can do well. And they know that with a decent gig that they can go and they can get laughs. With harder gigs, it's a different thing. And with sort of super big gigs, they may not be ready for that yet, but they're trying to get that sort of middle ground of competency comedy. And that's a good thing. That is not nearly as easy as people think it is. Getting 10, 15, 20 minutes of highly reliable stand-up that pops every time and does for you what you want it to do without costing you what you don't want it to cost you. So if you need to do clean, can you do clean, and can you also be funny? If you need to be hardcore to sort of break open a more, hardcore, edgy audience, then can you do that? And can you do it well? Marquis bits raise things up. They're above that competency level, all the way up into where it's something that can become, in some ways, to stand for you, that it can go out and do work for you on its own. When you write a marquis bit, it elevates in the audience's mind. They remember it to the point usually where they can re-say it, and they will re-say it. It also breaks out into the larger culture that other shows will pick it up. Other people will pick it up. People will start talking about it on social media. And when you get those kind of marquis bits that rocket you upward, you have to be ready to really capture that value, because that's what you're constantly doing in stand-up, is trying to ascend either through just hard work and getting to gigs and being consistent, or marquis bits, rockets, comets, whatever you want to call them. And I love to search for those things, because when you find them, they're so valuable and they're so rare. But there's a way of orienting your brain around that, if I find a bit like that, I need to really take care of it. I need to really develop it so that it becomes this sort of shining badge for my stuff, especially if it's biographical, because then people remember the bit and they remember you. We quickly talked about Julian Casas, who got on Kill Tony last week and had a great set. Really good interview. They liked him a lot. Tony really liked him, gave him a big joke book, said he saw a future for him. And this is just the wildest environment now. Like you see those things happen. Like they've always been review shows in stand-up, but they're always just in the club. They last one night, or they're, this kind of special event within the stand-up environment, but they never go anywhere. But Kill Tony found a way to make 2 or 3 million people watch that online. And that's pretty impressive. So it's one of the cool things about Austin. And Julian did it right. You know, got a good bump out of it. And you could feel it. Like, you could feel it in him that he's like, oh, I got a bump. And where do you go from there? I'm not sure. Like, sometimes I think people, when they get success really fast, tend to see themselves as higher than they maybe are yet when their skills and their show and things like that. And you got to be careful that it doesn't close you off to still learning and growing. Then we jump back into our development section of the workshop, about 20 minutes, where we run some type of writing exercise to develop more script. Right now we're doing biographical script, and this week we focused on education biography. Everybody has a huge background in education, all the way from pre-K, or even your parents educating you when you were a baby, listening to, you know, baby Beethoven or something, all the way through daycare, kindergarten, grade school, middle school, high school, into graduate school, and people still take classes once you get jobs and things like that. So education is one of those weird environments where you got a lot of people in a very, you know, contained space. It's a weird interaction, and when you get that many people around consistently and they're spending time together, sometimes for years, a lot of weird things happen. So you can pluck things out of that to turn into stand-up. Everybody has stories, interesting stories, fascinating stories, ironic, hardcore, tragic, you know, traumatic stories of their time in education and the characters that you run into in education. So you try to find those that can actually have enough depth and texture that you can turn into stand-up. And that'll really surprise people because it's so extreme. And usually stand-up starts with extreme experiences like that. I mentioned real quickly in the workshop about my son when he was in this really cool pre-K in Glendale, California, that had been there for 35 years. Really cool setup. But there was a pair of twins. There was a set of twins in the daycare. Val and Jude were their names, and they were identical. I mean, they were so identical. I guess there's no real levels of identical, but they were identical. And to deal with that cognitively, my 4-year-old son Zeke just called them Val or Jude. Like, he made up a new name he applied to both of them. Hey, Val or Jude. Hey, Val or Jude. And he didn't play the game. He renamed the whole thing. So I thought that was kind of fun. Could I do it as stand-up? I don't know. Maybe if I really pushed it and did a bunch of writing work on it, I could get it to where it pops enough for kind of a stand-up gut laugh, which is always sort of the bar. You can definitely do it for humor if you were doing speaking gigs and things like that. If you attach some type of lesson to it, you could definitely do that in a speaking gig. So everybody took 5 minutes, wrote down as many things they could from their educational experience, and you can do that exercise after you listen to this. Sit down and just write it. Start it from the beginning to where you are now, and think about all your educational experiences. Because when you give it borders and you focus and you lock down like that, your brain can actually come up with things. If I just said write something about when you're in school, it's too big of a range. So block it out into smaller writing segments. Then we went and did our writing staff exercise for 20 minutes, where everybody, or 15 minutes or so, where everybody got in groups of 4, and everybody was the subject. Took turns as being the subject, like, here's my story, or here's my stories, which one do you want to talk about? And the rest of the staff is supposed to do the 4 things, like turn it into script. Well, basically all script, not really performance. So they're supposed to help you script it. So find new angles, ask for clarification on the information itself, write setups, punches, tags, and act outs. So if it works correctly and people are starting to get more and more experience doing this, we can, in 15 or 20 minutes, really burn through some new lines for you, some new extensions, some new veers, some new ideas that make the bit stronger than you can on your own. Then we jumped for the last hour into our instant development process, which is where everybody gets 1 minute, and I basically play a double producer. I'm saying that I'm here to find really good stand-ups to, I don't know, take to a festival or hire for a show. I want to pay them for some reason. So I'm looking at them as a producer, and I'm using my producer eyes of what is their script, what's their performance skills, what's the character they bring, and do they communicate well with the audience? And then the other thing I look at is the writing staff. Everybody breaks into a mass writing staff at that point. And can you, or even directing staff, like, they're supposed to give feedback across those 4 verticals. So if you want to focus on the directing and give people performance feedback, character, communication, or hardcore writing feedback. We had 10 people go up, worked well. Again, it seems to be a great exercise. It keeps energy. I think people get stuff out of both doing it and watching it and offering feedback. After that, we went over to Shiner's Saloon for our third installment of the Comedy Accelerator Stand-Up Showcase down in downtown Austin on Congress, which is a cool area. I mean, it's also like a beat to shit area with all the homeless people mixed in with all the college students and everybody. It's they call it Dirty Sixth for a reason, but it's still got its energy and it's still got all these tons and tons of bars, music, comedy. I was walking over to it and I had two different people try to give me flyers to come to stand-up comedy shows. Start me thinking like they should say, come to a mediocre stand-up comedy show. Because none of these are really pro. Most people are working out new material. Most people are new comics. So you're not walking in there and just getting slammed with great comedy. It's kind of a mediocre environment, even when it's booked. It's better when it's booked. It's really bad when it's open mic. Because again, people are working on new stuff and they just don't have the skills yet. And the environment's tough, which is kind of what happened in this third week at the Shiner's Saloon. The first week was great. We had 10 or 12, maybe even 15 audience members mixed in with about 15 comics. Had a great energy, just really fun. Second week was fine. We dwindled down to maybe 5 audience members, a lot of comics, but it was still good energy in the room. This week we hit what I like to call the wilt. This is why I don't like to book shows, why I don't like to run shows, is because after you get the first initial burst and the energy, people have burned through most of the people they know intimately that are interested in stand-up and they can get out to a show that haven't come to one of their shows before. So the comics themselves stop really becoming useful marketing devices. And we have no real marketing setup behind this show. I've got the Comedy Accelerator Instagram, I've got the Facebook page and the Facebook group. But other than that, it's not really a robust marketing environment. We don't have a mailing list that really goes beyond the stand-ups. So it's hard to bring people out. And so this time you could feel it. Like it was a tough room. There's a lot of silence. The comics, I think we set the tables apart too far this time before they've been bunched together, which helps. And so there was a lot of dispersion of the comedy and the laughs and even the vocals. And so people laughed a lot less. And you could see it when people went out. They're like, started telling their jokes. I'm like, oh, I'm not getting a response. This isn't as fun as it usually is. But we still barreled through it. There was nothing that turned bad. It was just a low reward environment. At some point, 4 women came in and sat at the bar off to the side, which should have been far enough away that it didn't really bother. But, you know, when people start talking to each other, they get loud. And so now we're in 2 environments. It's a comedy club and it's a bar. And those don't work very well together. So I had to ask them if they would please do us a favor and not talk quite so loud. And they seemed to be fine with it. But then they left. So I ran off the only, paying bar patrons, which is not good for the venue. But hey, I don't know what else to do. You got to try to preserve the environment. It was already a hard environment. Last thing though, we finished out the show with a comic in Austin named Simply Courtney. And I'd sort of seen him online before. I knew he had pretty good energy and good stage presence. And he did great. He finished the show by doing what he clearly has a lot of experience at, almost host work. So he raised the energy of the room. He came with a lot of energy. He talked really fast without pauses and ran through his jokes, not rushing them, but also not letting anything die. So he kept the energy up through the jokes. He also did crowd work. I talked to the bartender, which I've hosted the last 3 shows, and I haven't really done a ton of crowd work. I'll do a couple of lines in between. But if you're going to really raise that up, it has to be the host to keep bringing it back, or one of the comics that likes to do that stuff. And he has clearly hosted a lot of things. I think he does quite a bit of producing around town. But he had a great set. People liked it. He got a lot of laughs, and he finished out with a little motivational advice for the workshoppers, which I thought was fun. So there you go. That was the week 30. There's no workshop next week because of South by. There may be a saloon show. There may not be. I'm not going to be at it. I'm going to take a break because I've done this 30 weeks in a row. And we'll see if somebody else wants to jump up and produce it. But keep coming back. The workshop, like I said, has great energy. We'll get back at it in 2 weeks and we'll go from there.